The IMF is an aid-giving organization purporting to help countries achieve development in the global economy. However, critics question its methods in developing these economies. Consider the case of Africa. The continent as a whole has had the most IMF aid by far, but lacks development and in many cases basic financial infrastructure. Today, the average per capita income of sub-Saharan Africa is $1 a day. Between 1981 and 2002, the number of people living in poverty there doubled, despite funds being sent from the IMF, the World Bank, and many other countries, institutions, and organizations. There are clearly problems with the aid model the IMF uses. Firstly, the IMF is attempting to fix economies with no social or legal infrastructure and a lack of democratic institutions. When the IMF served to repair war-torn Europe with aid money, these institutions already existed. They just needed to be fixed. But with the success seen in Europe from aid, the model was and has been applied to Africa. A standardized policy in the form of free market consensus and aid money are thought to be the solve-all, despite the differences and diversities between countries in Africa. In Africa, many countries have been torn apart by civil wars, lack political infrastructure, and are incredibly behind in economic development in comparison to the Western Hemisphere. When aid money is poured into governments with no transparency, the funds do not go where they're meant to. This is called rent-seeking, when government officials take money for personal use. Rent-seeking creates a cycle of dependency. The economy does not grow because aid money is not wisely invested. Therefore, the country continues to need aid and may even become worse off than it was before. The country can become trapped in a cycle of aid dependency. A quote from economist Dambisa Moyo: "From Idi Amin to Mobutu to Samuel Doe, the competition among these leaders to be more brutal to their people, more spendthrift, more indifferent to their country's needs, was matched only by the willingness of international donors to give them the money to realize their dreams." Why does the IMF give aid to regimes it knows to be corrupt? The IMF is a bureaucracy. The business is giving. The IMF must give a certain amount in AIDS funds per year or risk decreasing its funds in the next. Thus, to the staff at the IMF, it is not a good thing if countries decrease their dependence on aid. In addition, the IMF is headquartered in Washington, D.C. After aid has been given, there is little chance for officials to closely monitor how the money is dispensed. It's basically a free-for-all for excited government officials who find themselves finally able to afford a jet. Without input from citizens within the countries the aid goes to, and without transparent political and economic institutions, why does the IMF continue to push a policy of aid? And with so clear a history where aid has failed to achieve economic development, why is the structure persisting?